by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh, by
Shalom,
the
shalom,
rivers
family,
of Babylon.
Shalom, shalom, family, and welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Uziel Lewy, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High, King of the universe, Yehudah Zebaot. Thanking him for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. For being with us, for protecting us, waking us up, allowing us to think, to breathe, to see, to hear, to smell, to do all the things that are needed for us to enjoy life, be with our families, saying Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and truly saying Shabbat Shalom because we are live. As you see, we are live. This is an actual live broadcast. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Also, leave your questions. You could say hi to Nasik in a real live moment. And if you got questions, hopefully he'll get to answer them on the air as we are live. So we're going to move straight ahead, and we're going to go to highlights of the portion of Equev and the second Haftarah of comfort that Nasik will be going over. So without any further ado, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Condolences go out to the family of Chief Captain Meshulam, to his wife Leah, and to all his children. We lost another officer from BINAH, from the congregation BINAH. We pray that that was one of Prince Zurishaddai's Nasik Zurishaddai's contemporaries, and one of his friends, coming up in this way of life. Condolences to the entire family. Also, my condolences go out to the family of Adon Yaroah from congregation BINAH Yisrael. That is the brother of Nasik Tavel, if you knew him, and the father of our sister Raquel, Ruach Emmett. So condolences to the entire family, to Adon Yaroah's family, his wife, beautiful lady, beautiful spirit, and his children, his grandchildren, and everybody who he was near and dear to. So I'll move straight ahead, and I'll pass it on to one of my teachers and my mentors, Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great. First of all, I'd like to say, Adonai Septagi Chakafio Gitia Theaka, Lord, open up my mouth and my lips shall declare the praise. Giving praise to this premature universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yariel Ben Saska, to the host, Chief Uzael, the host, and to the princes, Chief, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters, and visit to the channel. I reach all in the time of forefathers, Shalom Aleichem and Shabbat Shalom. Also, this will be one of the rare times I'll be live on the channel. Most times I'm not. Try to get it done earlier. But as I mean, we had a couple of prominent individuals that left our community. So my sympathy go out to the family. Comfort, may God comfort you and the family amongst all the other mourners, Zion, Chief Captain Meshulam, and also his friend Adon Yaroah, because they definitely was remiss within the community, and they contribute a lot in their time. So That being said, I'll be moving on to this particular Sidra, which is a review. I highlight certain parts of last week's Sidra, which past Shabbat, which is the second Shabbat, second Haftarah of Comfort, which they had the Sidra was Equev, some people say Equev, and it goes from the seventh chapter of starts at the seventh chapter of Deuteronomy and conclude at the 25th chapter, 11th chapter, the 25th verse of Deuteronomy. It covers a lot of stuff in there, a little different, and then also reminiscence of the Sidra we just read it before about the Kriyat Shema. Also, the Haftarah we'll be dealing with would be Isaiah, the 49th chapter, the 14th verse, and it concludes at the 51st chapter, 3rd verse, the book of Isaiah. So I like to bring out a couple of, and I like to answer also a question that was posed in the last chat. I believe the brother name is Bert, and it was concerning vows and how do you, when you mess up on a vow, how you straighten it out. Well, it depends on who you made the vow to, because some people could just go ahead and say, I quit you of that vow. But when you're making a vow concerning the Creator, then only one can acquit you and excuse you from that vow is the Creator himself. So all I could do is just say, if you're able to perform what you said, then the Creator always usually want a person to repent and try to come back, with a sincere heart. They say in the Psalm says, David said, "Thou would not despise a contrite spirit." So no one on earth can excuse you from a vow that you make before to the Creator. They can excuse you from a vow that you might make to them. And that so that's the best answer I could give you in reference to that. Now I know you had these things called nidre, which they say on Yom Kippur, but that's another issue that I'm not going to get into at this particular time. And so now the Sidra, dealing with Equev, it's an interesting word. The word Equev, Equev is what most people say. Spelled Ayin, Kuf, and Bait. The actual word itself means a hill, but as it used in a grammatical sense here, a prepositional sense, it uses the word Equev as if, and you say, well, okay, why would it start this particular Sidra? It seemed like it would be a continuation of the Sidra prior to it, because it goes say, it used that term if, and so it's like it's relating, and it has a conjunction and in there as well. So it said, and if you, in the English it says, and it shall come to pass, because you hearken to these ordinances and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep with thee the covenant and the mercy which he swore unto thy fathers, and he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy body, the fruit of thy land, thy corn, and thy wine, and thy oil, and the increase of thy kind, and the young of thy flock, in the land which he swore unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all peoples. There shall not be a male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and he will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee, but will lay them on all them that hate thee. And thou shalt consume all the people that the Lord thy God shall deliver unto thee. Thy eye shall not pity them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto thee. a lot of things in that little. I just read that because, you know, here it focuses on the land and observance of a certain of the ordinances here, and it goes on to say that if you listen, if you hearken, if you shema, if you listen to what he's saying, and the word Equev. Now the word Equev, like I said, also means a hill, and it seems like this would be part of the previous sidra. But when we and why we have a different sidra, well, I'm just going to point it out just in case I don't get a chance to cover it as I highlight certain points. But just to fast forward just a little bit, when we get down to the 8th chapter and around about the 20th verse in the 8th chapter, it says, "As the nations that the Lord maketh to perish before you, so shall ye perish because," and the word because is used here for Equev, "ye would not hearken unto the voice of the Lord your God." All right, so that lets you know that this Equev, the hill, is the if changes to because in this particular word. The same word Equev is used there twice in this particular sidra, and one form is used as if, which is a adverbial clause of something that escaped from being done, but has but has not been done, or something that has been done but escaped from not being done. That's a adverbial clause for if. That's my definition for it. And the last part is used as because. One of the things we look at now, we talk about the heel. The heel is one part of the body that's mostly overlooked. Everybody work on, their feet, their toes. They work on their legs, their ankles, their knees. They work on their arms, their elbows, their fingers. They work on their face. They work on their chest, their stomach. They work on every part of the body. And rarely, the last thing they might ever consider is actually the heel. And the heel is actually support the actual body. The feet, the rest of the part of the feet, it actually keeps it in balance. But most of your weight is picked up on your heels. So now, and sometimes they explain they're using this term Equev because some commandments that we have, we say, okay, we know all of them are important, but we have a status quo of importance for the commands because the commands from God come to us and they come from God. So every command is important for us, and we look at the static quo, and so we say, well, I need to observe this commandment because I'm not going to commit adultery. That's a serious commandment, and that carries a serious penalty behind that. So I'm not going to do that, But I might try to act like I won't give any kind of charity to another individual. I might not cover my neighbor's house, but if I see him need some help, I turn a blind eye to it. So, and for now, because I'm too busy doing what I need to do. So those commands that we might postpone, trample on it, put on a bottom shelf because we say it's not important. It's important to honor my father and my mother, but every bird nest out there, I ain't gotta be that careful, about making the mother flee and lead the young. I ain't gotta be that careful. If she happens to be in the way and she get injured or killed, so be it. So and both and like I said before, those commandments carry a reward for the honor of your parents and letting the mother bird go as a reward of life, long life upon the land which Lord their God giveth thee. That's the reward for obeying those commands. Letting the mother bird go is easy to do. Honoring parents is very difficult to do. And also, I'd like to address, I was talking to well, a young lady early in the week, and she had looked at the program, and when I focused on saying that we're commanded to love by Moses, and that emotion, that's an emotion that we're commanded to do by Moses, and I brought out the analogy about you're not commanded to love your parents, you're not commanded to marry your wife. I know. So she retorted, and brought to my attention and said, "Well, what about the stranger? You told her to love the stranger, stuff like that." And that is true. What I was bringing out the extremes at the time, not that I negated that, because that comes up in this particular sidra. So I haven't negated it. It's just that I highlight the extremes, just in case somebody else might have thought that I'm saying that there's nowhere where you're told to love anybody or anything. We're told to do love certain things. Even later on in the prophecy, we're told to love mercy. So most people, want judgment, and they only love mercy for themselves, but they don't love mercy for somebody else. So I was just focusing on that particular premise at that time. So I hope I made myself a little bit more clearer in that area. So now when we talk about this particular portion, there's some interesting terms that's used here. That's used here in reference to when it talk about the grain, your grain, and it talks about, they use the term for grain, they use the term for your oil, your wine. They use the term for grain, wine, and oil, and they use the normal words that we use for it. And what's interesting, and I recommend that y'all look up those words that's used here, in the Hebrew words, and what they actually are, is Semitic deities. And I'm bringing that out just as a thing for you to ponder. That the names that's used is actually related to certain Semitic deities. And I brought that out for a reason. So when you get a chance, look up the term that's used in this particular portion for your grain, for your wine, and for your oil. It's not the normal term that we use here throughout the book for those particular areas there. And then when you find out the etymology of the word, you'll find out that it was, some Semitic deities that we probably didn't really recognize and, acknowledge to that degree. And it functions in that area. We have a word, and I'm just going to bring this here out as I'm going through. I'm not going to focus on that now, but we use a word from a deity, and I'm bringing these points out because I hear people say, make no mention of the strange gods and all that kind of stuff, or other gods. We use a term that's very flow off our lips so easily. I'm going to have me this morning a bowl of cereal. Now, the word cereal comes from a Latin word, which is an offshoot of the Greek, which was a Greek goddess, I believe, Demetria or something like that. And so when the Latins took over, they took over a lot of the gods that the Greeks had, just gave them, Roman names, Latin names for Romans. But they pretty much had the same pantheon to gods as the Greeks, just changed the names. Like the Greeks changed the names of certain things, so they did as well. So this was a goddess of agriculture, and of the land. So her name, Ceres. That's what the Latin term she was a goddess for that. She didn't get involved, according to the mythology, with all the other wars with the other different gods had and fights and stuff like that. She was about production of the land, produce. So hence the word cereal that we use today. So, and I'm bringing those different things out because sometimes people be so critical about if we're using English terms today, and the majority of the people, that's the most number one language in the world now is the English language. If you work in the airlines, no matter in China, anywhere, China, in Japan, everybody that works in the airlines must know English. So I'm saying those things to try to enlighten people. When you study the Torah, we try to get the general sense of what's being brought out in the Torah, and sometimes we will probe ourselves, dig till we eradicate the actual message that's being conveyed in Torah. So I just want to bring those points out in reference to that. And as we go, we have in this particular portion here, he's talking about, I got to read some of this here in the 17th verse of the 7th chapter. It says, if thou say in thy heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them. Thou shalt well remember what the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt, the great trials which thy eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders and the mighty hand and outstretched arm whereby the Lord thy God brought thee out. So shall the Lord thy God do unto all the peoples of whom thou art afraid. Moreover, Lord thy God will send the hornets among them until they that are left and they that hide themselves perish from before thee. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for the Lord thy God is in the midst of thee, a God great and awful. The Lord thy God will cast out those nations before thee by little and little. Thou mayest not consume them quickly, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them up before thee, and shall discomfort them with a great discomfiture until they be destroyed. All right. So this, what the Creator has said in this area. Now, mind you, we heard this before, and I like to look at the book of Deuteronomy as the longest sermon ever given. And I say it's the longest sermon because we read in the beginning of Deuteronomy, this is Moses' words. So I know people that go to different congregations, they say, well, the teacher talking too long. He expounding too long. Maybe we need to cut it short. Well, no one that I know of gave a sermon that lasted close to 5 weeks. No one I know gave a sermon that lasted close to 5 weeks. Elaborating on, picking up here. This is what the book of Deuteronomy is. The book of Deuteronomy is basically, 37 days, roughly. So basically a little more than a 5-week sermon, the longest sermon ever given. Bit of trivia to know. And Moses, and let you know that he had to be in class for 40 days and 40 nights, as we're going to touch on just a little bit. All right. So I'm just going to highlight that point there. That the Creator going to guarantee that we be able to possess the land. But when you go into the book of Judges and you read some of the things that happened, why the people wasn't eradicated, or that we can understand the part where some of them may not have been eradicated because, it wasn't enough for us to fill in because each nation was greater and mightier than us. And I want to bring out some things in reference to that in here. But before I get into that, I'd like to bring out some exaltations because, like I said, this is the second from the second Shabbat of comfort. And it says in the 8th chapter, all the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do them, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which the Lord swore unto your fathers, And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God had led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might afflict thee, to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandment or no. Important point. Moses wasn't navigating us to the wilderness. It was the Creator that led us. Moses didn't know what would be the next move, what would be the next location. The Creator knew what should be the next location, how long we stay at that location. So, and I always have to focus on that when people say that we wandered in the wilderness like we was lost, spiritually, we had, a deficit. We had a spiritual deficit in that area, but we wasn't lost because we had a guide. And so while Moses might have been the sage on the stage, the Creator was a guide by our side. And that's what we should look at. So we had a greater security in that area. So we're being led for doing educational purposes. And he afflicted thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know that. He might make thee know that man does not live by bread alone, only by everything that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord does man live. Now, before and get to that, that's a verse that's always, quoted. In the Hebrew, it said, "Leman hodiaka, kilo al lekem, levado ye hadam," and use the word adam in that sense instead of just regular ish, and said, "Ki al kol mosa pi Adonai ye adam." So use that word adam twice. That's what caused you to live. So not by bread, though we ate manna, and manna is something that's provided by the Creator. Nobody else ever had that. Adam didn't have that, but you don't live by bread alone. So what he brings you back, he brings you back to recall creation, because God created everything with words. He could have thought things into being, but he said, "Let it be," and he called it out, and it appeared, and done and performed the way the Creator wanted it to perform. So Moses had that experience of 40 days and 40 nights, neither drinking water or eating. He didn't have to take a break, a bathroom break, or none of that. And he's being taught. So everything we read about in the Tanakh, everything we read about, Moses learned, and that's including the information of building the Mishkan, all the different laws. Moses had learned that in 40-day period, nonstop class. So when we think about a long sermon, think about the longest class that the Creator had for an individual such as Moses. We should be a little bit excited behind that. To understand how great this man Moses was. In the 4th verse, it says, "Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. And thou shalt consider in thy heart that as a man chastens his son, so the Lord God chastens thee." All right. So now we're focusing on in this area here that 40 years, most of us don't keep clothes for a couple of years. Either we grow out of, and clothes are no good, because it's considered no good if we get out of shape. If you was really, really, a small person, and then all of a sudden, you became obese, then that clothes is no good for you anymore. You got to pass it on. But it's talking about your personal clothes. having wax old. So when we think of waxing old, we think about moth eating, deteriorating, rotting along. It's not that. Our clothes become old, worn out when you outgrow the clothes itself. So it's not always just decaying. And also the smell. Sometimes, and let you know if water was an issue from time to time, then our hygienes had to be good. So our body odors was different in the wilderness. We had a different body odors because your clothes pick up your body odor. So it was so much stuff we could look into when we talk about the clothes. We have the same clothes for 40 years without shopping for newer garments. So that's fantastic. And then and they talk about feet not swelling. When you just stand up on a job for a few hours a day, at the end of the day, just getting up and walking around the neighborhood, at the end of the day, your feet actually swell. And we in the desert, marching in the wilderness. At any given moment, be ready to move out. And if if the cloud by the day or a few days or a year, we got to be able to move. So, and how far? The distance is what the Creator considered the distance should be at that time. So many people today that have feet problem, none of them have a foot problem. None of them had a wardrobe problem. Before and you had to stay in shape. So none of them outgrew, except the children themselves, pretty much, children, in that sense. Those are the only ones that, as you growing up, you would have a different set of clothes for them. But the clothes they had didn't wear out. More specified when you reach a maturity, certain mature level. All your clothes was in mint condition. That's what it's brought here for 40 years. And then it goes on to say, and God chastises us, to see if we, to walk in His ways and to fear Him. Be in awe of Him. In the 7th verse, for the Lord thy God bringeth thee unto a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths, springs, springing forth, in valleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, which is, grapevines, fig trees, pomegranates, and olive, and honey. All right. The land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness, thou shalt not lack anything in it. A land whose stones are iron, out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. All right. And it says, and the 10th verse says, and thou shalt eat and be satisfied, and bless the Lord thy God for the good land which He hath given thee. All right. Now, this where they tell you about, beware, 11th verse, lest thou forget the Lord thy God, and not keeping His commandments and His orders and His statutes, which I command thee this day. All right. So, and it goes on to say, lest when thou hast eaten and art satisfied, and hast built goodly houses and dwelt therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, all that thou hast multiplied, then thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Lord thy God, who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, who led thee through the great and dreadful wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents, fiery serpents, and scorpions, and thirsty ground where was no water, who brought forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna. All right, so now this is one of the things. When you talk about the land and describe the land, you notice they describe gold and silver in the land. Talk about iron and brass, and 7 types of fruit. Talk about the wheat. Talk about the the barley. Talk about the grapes. Talk about the the pomegranates. It talks about the olives. It talks about the date. So I left out one, but anyway, yeah, I read it already. So when it talk about those 7 plants. Now we got 5 grains, mind you. Now 5 grains we talk about when we talk about comets and everything like that, and this is derivatives of either barley or wheat. But wheat is mostly in ancient times. But today, everybody talking about I want to be gluten free, GMO free, and all that kind of stuff. But wheat was the stable diet for human beings. They didn't eat much barley back in ancient times, as far as eating it themselves. The barley was more for the cattle, So, hence a major thing that we break the bread out of later on was wheat when we get done at the time of Shavuot. So that's just something else to bear in mind. But it describes whatever a society or nation need to live. Gold, you can't do much with that except trade. All right. Same thing with silver. You can't do not much with that, but trade or decorate stuff with it. That's it. But the essential of any national society, you have that in your land. You have to go out to deal with, looking for things. What does society need to move? All right. So now I'm just going to skip over just a little bit in the ninth chapter, and bring out some points here, which is the 9th chapter says, "Hear Israel, thou art to pass over this Jordan this day, to go and to dispossess the nations greater and mightier than thyself, cities great and fortified up to heaven, and people great and tall, the sons of Anak, the sons of the Anakim, whom thou knowest, and of whom thou hast heard say, who could stand before the sons of Anak?" Now, didn't we just slay the giant over there under Moses, which is Sichon and Og? Og, we're going to read about how big his bedpost was. So Og was a giant himself. We done slayed him, slayed his family members, Sichon, and we slayed him on the other side. But when the scouts went to the land, they talked about these guys, the children of Anak, the sons of Anak. They talked about them. Like what was on the side they was on across the Jordan, evidently couldn't compare to them guys that they get ready to meet on the other side. Now we know they had songs and poetry about the great powers of the guys on the eastern banks of the Jordan, where Moses and them had slain. But when and the Creator even told him not to be afraid of Og. So Moses was a human being that had a fear. So how much more the people who was not that close to the Creator as Moses was would have a fear and a reputation. So now they're giving them a special type of pep talk when you get ready to go over there to confront them. Now, mind you, they're not going to be doing all, it ain't going to be by their power that these people are going to be taken out. So when we go just a little bit further here, third verse, know therefore this day that the Lord thy God is he who goeth over before thee as a devouring fire. Keep reminding them to keep pepping them up in that area. And I'm skipped down to the 4th verse. Because the Lord going to do so much wonders for us in the 4th verse in the same chapter, 9th chapter. Speak not thou in thy heart after the Lord thy God had thrust them out from before thee, saying, for my righteousness the Lord hath brought me in to possess this land. Whereas for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord does drive them out from before thee. Not for thy righteousness or for the uprightness of thy hearts dost thou go in to possess their land, but for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord thy God does drive them out from before thee, that he may establish the word which the Lord swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Know therefore that it is not for thy righteousness that the Lord thy God giveth thee this good land to possess it, for thou art stiff-necked people. And I had to read that again, because sometimes when we make accomplishments in life, we think it's only through our own strength. And we and we get a certain type of victory, we think, because we're so righteous. But it could have been something somebody in your family line and their ancestors had asked for, and worked for, that you live in off of some of their merits. Is a cool a vote, and that's what it just brought out in this particular portion here. The Hebrew is a vote, which is merit of the fathers, or merit of the ancestors. So when we look at those areas there, that we going in, that means we haven't, even with all the laws that's being taught, with the Mishkan being in our midst, we haven't developed enough at this stage in time where we would say we all that, and we are righteous people, and we are holy people. We haven't developed that to that degree where we earned it on our merit. Moses letting us know right then and there that God gave his word to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he even told Abraham in his time, the iniquities of the Amorites are not yet fulfilled. But yet our righteous integrity, our righteousness is not yet on that level yet either. Some of the laws we had to exercise in that land. So we got to pass, because we know certain laws about sabbatical laws and observing the Sabbath in the land, harvesting corn to the fields. We didn't have to do none of that for 40 years because we're not growing anything for 40 years. So in the land, they had rules. And you go into a land where rules are set up by the Creator. And that's the difference. So they're being judged on how they care for the land and also their moral action with one another. All right. And some of the abominable practices they had as well. So, and it goes on to say in the seventh verse, remember, forget thou not how thou didst make the Lord wroth in the wilderness. So he goes down and talk about all the stuff we did in the wilderness. All right, but and it goes on, but I want to bring out this point here in the ninth chapter, 9th verse. All right. Well, first I might as well come from the 8th verse. Also in the Horeb, he made the Lord wroth, and the Lord was angry with you to have destroyed you. All right. Now I want to focus on that just for a half a moment, just for a moment, and because there's so much stuff in it, I'm trying to just zip on, so I won't keep you too long. But one of the things is why he focused on Horeb. We messed up, made God angry prior to Horeb. But why we focus on Horeb, because that's where we built the golden calf. That's where we had the calf erected at that time. So the other time, we haven't even really heard from God directly. We just seen some of the miracles, the wonders, and everything like that. So we haven't heard from the Creator as of yet. But at Mount Horeb, God spoke them things from Mount Horeb, and then, within the 40-day period, we wind up making a calf, an idol, violating. So for whatever purpose it was, that's what we did. So that is when we held accountable on the most highest level, where the Creator actually want to destroy us at that time. And that's usually and that's the first time that the Creator actually wanted to destroy us. It's from the sin of the golden calf. Before that, we did some things and said some things. But only once we had encountered the Creator firsthand, heard him speak, then we're not the same people. We can't slide like we got to pass easy before. So that's what made, and that's why Moses bring this out. All right, and then it goes on and said, and this and these. I'm not going to read the whole thing in this 10th. I'm going to just focus on a little bit on 11. But when you go over that these chapters here, 9 and 10, you'll find out, and you got to read it carefully. 9 and 10. Moses ascended Mount Sinai 3 times. I'm just going to be brief, so I could go into highlight a couple of things in 11. One time, they get the tablets. We said, go up there, and God called him up because we don't want to hear God speak. And that's when they got the tablets. But when you read this carefully, you find out Moses was told by God before he left what the people did. And that's why, certain details we get in between the 9th and the 10th chapter, we get details that we didn't get prior in the book of Shemot, the next in Kitesah, when we actually had the calf and stuff. So now we find other little detail that Moses shared with us. When God told the people to turn away, Moses had them tablets, and he came on down. When he came down with those tablets, the first tablets, cut out by God, written with the finger of God. God already told him he already did something, and Moses had seen it for himself. And he tore up he broke the first tablets, cast them down to the ground, broke them like breaking a contract. That's an ancient Semitic way of saying the contract null and void. Question, you go and say, did Moses think the Creator is exaggerating when the Creator already told them that the people would turn away? And not only that, he said, get down quickly. He said, go down quickly. And he offered to make Moses a nation out of Moses. You don't hear Moses make any reply in this particular portion here. You hear him making a reply later after he witnessed the act, but you don't find him making any kind of reply to the Creator about or pleading for the people at that time when he had the first set of tablets. And God told them what they did already and said that he would make a nation of them. And we didn't know this existed until now. Other details in this particular portion. And then we also find out that when he came up, after grinding it up, he told you what he did with the golden calf. And not only that, he told about how when the tribe of Levi was actually chosen from that point. From that point, the tribe of Levi was separated, to be, God, the servants for God on behalf of the children of Israel. So we find out that's actually wasn't arbitrary. They was chosen from that point on, from the time of the golden calf when they slayed, people that was involved in that. And then when we look further into the episodes of 9 and 10, he pleaded for him and said a little different plea, slightly different plea, at the time, and elaborate a little bit more on the plea that he elaborated on prior. And then he was told to get another set and bring them up. So 40 days, say he was 40 days like into the first. And when he came back down and brought the second set up, and brought the stones to be written on, then that's the third time. And the third time, he was there for 40 days. So 40 days, 3 times. Only a day or so in between those times. All right, so, and I always tell people, if you do the math from Shavuot all the way to Yom Kippur, you get close to 120 days. That's just something, you could do on your own, when you check it out. So he actually was on the mountain, and most people would think he was only up there twice. And it's the last time that he came down with the second set that when his face shone, lit up. All right, so that's another story. But I just want to bring those out. And so you got to read both this chapter, the 9th chapter, the 10th chapter. Take your time, discuss it with your teachers, and look and see the details there. Because, you know, it would look, it'd be really ironic. And I'm just going to share this with you. Ironic for you created such a great sin, and you, Moses, was told what they was doing, and you broke the next set, and you take upon your own to bring the next set up while you're praying for him. And then it let you know that God also was angry with Aaron at the time. He was angry with Aaron at the time to slay him. So Moses had to plead for his brother Aaron. Now, Aaron, and I wanted to share this here as we move on, because I know I cover everything I want to talk about, even though I said I was going to highlight. There's a lot of stuff to be to deal with in this particular area here. You have what you call, in this particular portion, you have that Aaron, if we do a little bit of the math of when they built the golden calf and how close Moses was up to the 40 days. And we know it was in the 3rd month that we had the revelation from God. And give a day or two, Moses going for about 40 days. So say if he went up to about the 7th of the 7th or the 7th or the 3rd month, the 8th of the 3rd month, whatever it is, could be the 8th of the 3rd month. All right, the 8th of the 3rd month. And you figure roughly, I'm just throwing a number out there. And 30 days later, it'd be the 8th of the 4th month. And then after the 8th of the 4th month, if he went that soon, all right? So 8th of the 4th month, then, you figure you got 10 more days, 10 more days in the 4th month, so you pretty much went close to the time of Rosh Chodesh when Moses had to go up there, and we don't know what, that he was up there, for the next, he didn't delay to go back up to pray for him when he seen how it was for Aaron, and then God wanted to slay Aaron. So Aaron himself pretty much died close to the same time period. Close to the same time period that actually Moses, Moses went to pray for him when God wanted to slay him. So it's close to the same time period. So when you look up, I'm just giving you a rough estimation of time. So when and he's the only individual, and why bring up Aaron now? We know Aaron's dead already. This is in the 11th month that Moses is giving us a talk. Aaron had died 4 months prior to that. I mean, 5th month, 6th, 6 months. All right. So Aaron had already died 6 months prior to Moses giving this talk. Why talk about Aaron again at this time when everybody know he's dead? And he's the only person in whole scriptures to have a yahrzeit that's given by scriptures. So there's always a lot of comments on that. So you can discuss it further. So a lot of times when you have a decree, some certain decrees, he do it, but he do it. It give you a little clemency of time, but he still died maybe in that same time. Everything is in its time and season. So that's something you could discuss amongst your teachers. But I just wanted to share that. The last thing I want to share in this particular portion is about the second portion of the Kriyat Shema, the Shema, all right, which is starting from the 11th chapter, 13th verse. All right, and then that's the last thing I want to bring out in that before I go into the Haftarah. And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God and to serve them with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in its season, the former rain and the latter rain, that you mayest gather in thy corn and thy wine and thy oil. And I will give grass in thy field for thy cattle, and thou shalt eat and be satisfied. Take heed to yourselves. All right. Now, in the word, you use the word seem. The root for seem was put. Put this in your heart. You know, take heed to it. Why? What are you taking heed to? You're taking heed to what he said in reference to what came prior, the land. You know, it seemed like you would say, I want you to pay attention closely to what's going to be a problem. But he gave out the problem and said, I need you to pay close attention to what I just said, which is a little bit different as we look at this particular portion. And it goes on to warn you. So, and the difference is that it adds just the second portion, circumstances, and the Shema. And I got to bring out the prayer book because it's easier to deal with it in the prayer book itself. You know, where the first standard of the Shema basically starts from the Deuteronomy 6, 4 to 9, those verses there. But actually from this particular portion here, it's come from the 11th chapter, 13th verse to the 21st verse of this particular chapter, inclusive. And this portion here, the Kriyat Shema, which I don't have time to really go into like I had planned originally, they use the plural. When the first portion, you know, and I give some of the words here that they have in the Hebrew. All right. When they use the words on olive veka, that upon your heart. All right. In the second portion, they use olive vekhem, you know, which is actually on their hearts. All right, in the plural. And then we go further, you know, and when they talk about your soul, you know, nafshekim, your soul, and then we talk about those things that you're supposed to, you know, observe and write. You know, use words like in the first part, you know, it used the word, you know, ukshatam, all right, and this, and then for them to be a sign, you know, upon on your hand, your deka, and here you use, you know, uksha 10, otam, otle, ayekem. So we use those different terms here, and when they use between your eyes, bain and neka, and the next portion it says bain and nekem. So why all these plurals? So I don't have time to really go into a lot of it, but I'll just focus on one last part in there. But when we talk about, and if you write them upon a mezuzah, you know, beteka, the doorpost of the house, and shareka on your gates. All right. So now I spoke about the mezuzah before, the doorpost, but I'd like to just elaborate on this last portion before I go into the Haftarah. And when we think about the mezuzah, the mezuzah that we put on the doorpost has different parchments of the commandments in the book that's wrapped up in the scroll that we never really see, that's inside. Now, some people have an expensive one where you can see the scroll there, but you might not, unless it's really, really large, you can't really read it just when it's hung up on the doorpost. And the thing is that when we look at the mezuzah, and it's focused on this being written down after we go into the land, after we finish our wandering. So we didn't have to have that prior to mezuzah on it, say the tent, the openings of our tents and everything like that there. We didn't have anything about, you know, law and stuff like that, you know, that was commanded for us to write on that at that time. All this is predicated when we cross over into the land. But the word mezuzah is an interesting word because it's spelled mem, zayin, you know, with a waw, which waw is used as a vowel, and then another zayin, and then a hey, the letter hey. So the word mezuzah, you can, you know, you could separate it, and make a analogy, another word from it, which is the mem from, and zo is a way of saying, this in the masculine, and ze is this or that. So zo could be that from this. So to say zo, you could say that as well in Hebrew, which is just strictly zayin with a kolam, zo. That's the word for that. Another expression for that or this. So when you think about the mezuzah, you could say you got to understand this from that, or this to that. So when you put the mezuzah up, it's constantly reminding you about understanding the details of the law. So when we go into captivity, and which we're going to speak about later on, they talk about putting the mezuzah on. So we got to put something upon us. That means that what makes us different if we go into captivity, which we're going to find later on in the Haftarah, is that we're not observing, the Shemitah, the letting the land go foul. They can't tell us understand us by that when we're in captivity, but they're going to understand us by the way we deal with, we don't steal, we don't commit adultery, we eat a different way, we pray to one God, we observe the Shabbat, those differences. So I'm going to go straight into the book of Isaiah right quick because it's pretty long, and I don't want to tax you that long today. So we're going to Isaiah, the 49th chapter. I'm going to read mostly through it. We could go through it pretty quickly, but this is like a second Isaiah, and it's also for the second week of comfort. So if you got it, we just pretty much go through Isaiah 49, 14th verse, and we're going to go all the way to the 51st chapter, the 3rd verse.
Isaiah chapter 49, verse 14. It reads, "But Zion said, Yehovah hath forsaken me, and Adonai hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, these may forget, yet will not I forget thee."
Hold on right there before we go any further. All right.
Yet will
Zion
not I
is the-
forget thee. I messed that up.
Right. Right. All right. So when we look at Zion is another term, the poetic term for the people of Jerusalem. That's what we're looking at in that area there. And what the people say, but Zion has said, the Lord have forgotten me. Now, Zion is actually it's really no real place called Zion, though we give it a poetic name for Zion, for Jerusalem. It's saying the land itself is doing the talking. The land itself missing us. That's what it's being pointed out, because we going into captivity, and then while we got into captivity in Babylon, now we, while in captivity, say, well, God must forgot us too. So not only, so we got an analogy sometime with the land of Jerusalem, and also now we got an analogy with the people going into captivity during the Babylonian captivity, during that particular exile. The exile took a period of time, about basically 10 years before Jerusalem actually succumbed all the way down. And that's what they're saying. What's the purpose of doing law? Why should I maintain what I do? Like a lot of people today, and that's Israelites. I find a lot of Israelites today say, well, you ain't got to do this. We ain't going to do this. We wait till we get back to the land. On some of the things we can. We ain't going to observe this day here. You can't participate in the day the way you're supposed to participate, but you're supposed to observe it because that is God's appointed time. It also, when I find that, it's how much law you keep that you can keep outside the land of Israel that sets you apart, not how little law you keep outside the land of Israel. Because the least is the lack of observance that got us in the problem we're in to this very day. But let's pick it up from the
Verse
16.
16, it reads, "Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Thy walls are continually before me.
Oh, right there. Right in there. All right. Now, I know like brothers like Chief Wools and stuff like that, and youngsters, compared to guys of my time where we had this black book with phone numbers in there, and then you start to remember, you could remember something like maybe 20 phone numbers, 7 digits, area code, and some of the phone numbers had names like Glenmore, stuff like that there. So they had like letters and numbers, and you used to remember the area code, the phone numbers, all in your head. And then you got the black book, you start writing stuff down. So you don't forget certain numbers that you might not call that regular, but you remember quite a bit. So the Creator is a God that never forgets, but it's to show you that how much of a surety that he haven't crossed you off. He used an analogy about a mother forgetting a suckling young. And he answers the question. Yeah, though she may forget, I won't. It says, you say, well, a mother forgetting a child that she bear? Yes, they do at times, and walk away at that time, especially in these days and time when you have abortion. That's a major thing. There's a major issue in this political arena today. So the Creator said, but I don't forget, and I'm gonna write it down in my palm. The Creator don't need to have a mental deficiency, a memory lapse. He say, I will cause, when you repent, your iniquities not to be brought into remembrance. But who remembers? Who remembers? He's trying to say. But continue here. Let's
Verse 17, it reads, Thy children make haste. Thy destroyers and they that made thee waste shall go forth from thee.
keep on.
Lift up thy eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together and come to thee. As I live, saith Yehovah, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all as with an ornament, and gird thyself with them like a bride. For thy waste and thy desolate places, and thy land that have been destroyed, surely now shall thou be too strait for the inhabitants, and they that swallow thee up shall be far away.
Right. So in other words, everything gonna be restored. That's what he's saying. He's giving their surety, and also, that where we be the tail, we're gonna be the head. That's what he's saying here. We're gonna be basically somebody. But go to 20 verse.
Verse 20, it reads, The children of thy bereavement shall yet say in thine ears, The place is too strait for me. Give place to me that I may dwell. Then shalt thou say in thy heart, Who hath begotten thee these? Then shalt thou say in thy heart, Who hath begotten me these? Seeing I have been bereaved of my children, and am solitary, an exile, and wandering to and fro. And who have brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These were what?
These were
they?
Okay. All right. Now, I know that Chancery English is a little rough sometimes. All right. One of the things is when we look at it's like the land now missing us. Not only we missing the land, but the land is actually missing us. And yet we went into captivity because we wouldn't give the land its Shabbats. And it looks like and it said the land actually gave birth to us. But yet, in reality, only one individual was born in the land. But as far as the 12 tribes, we know Isaac was born in the land. We know Jacob was born in the land, and we know that only Benjamin was born in the land. Everybody else born outside the land. Abraham and the other 11 brothers was born outside the land, of Israel. And so it's a lot more I can speak on in this, but just to save time, you might want to go with some of your teachers and look at the analogies and the metaphors, that's being spoken on between the people and the land and relationship, and also people that's going into captivity and God's love and of comfort and to bring people back. All right. and that the land don't even recognize. Say, I didn't know I had that many kids. I ain't seen in a long time. You develop. But go ahead and continue.
Verse 22, it reads, Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, Behold, I will lift up my hand to the nations and set up mine ensign to the peoples. And they shall bring thy sons in their bosom, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy foster fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers.
Keep going.
They shall bow down to thee with their face to the earth, and
Keep
lick
going.
the dust of thy feet.
Wow.
And
Keep
thou
going.
shalt know that I am Yehovah, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me.
All right there. In other words, we won't be ashamed, waiting on and talking with the Creator. We won't be ashamed on that at all. So since we won't be ashamed in that area on waiting on the Creator, then it let you know automatically at this time that though we wind up getting impatient, when brothers always say, man, we got to get together. We got to get together. How come we can't unify? How come we can't unify? I'm reading this. I'm sure they read this too. So, and it let us know that the only, and you notice, nobody's fleeing on their own to come back home. Nobody breaking out on their own to come back home. That when, because you ain't gonna get a jump stop and say, look, I found this nice house on the block, so I'm gonna have dibs on this because I seen it first. It ain't gonna be that kind of scenario for us in the latter days. The Creator, and we ain't gonna need a passport to come back home. That's what we're talking about. So when and it didn't say we are united together. It said the Creator gonna gather us together and bring us there. So there's a difference between being gathered together and being united together, and being shoved off, carried off into another area that's better than where you were, and being escorted by prominent people. So a lot of times I was sharing with people that it's in our power to get along, but it's never in our power to unite all Israel together. That's not going to work because that's reserved only for God. But let's continue here.
Verse 24. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the captives of the victorious be delivered? But thus saith Yehovah, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered.
Now, before I go,
Go ahead, Prince.
All right. Just finish out. Keep going. And let's finish out.
Verse 25. But thus saith Yehovah, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and I will save thy children. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with the sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I need Yehovah Moshe Ake, that I, Yehovah, am thy Savior, and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Yaakov.
There you go. Yeah. All right, go ahead. All right.
Go to the next chapter.
When we look at this here. Yeah, in a moment. And one of the things we're looking at here is that it's talking about people being the victims. Once you conquer somebody, how they gonna get, how the captain's gonna get away. Well, we have an example with Abraham. He went to rescue Lot, who was a captive, but he brought back many other people when he went to rescue Lot. All right, but let's try to finish this out all the way. Let's read. I ain't gonna stop you till we finish all the way to the end. 50th
in the
chapter.
book of Isaiah, chapter 50, verse 1. Thus saith Yehovah, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement wherewith I have put her away? Or which of my creditors is...
Same word that's used in Deuteronomy. Keep going.
Or which of my creditors...
Same word that's used in Deuteronomy 25.
All right. Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities were ye
Keep
sold,
going.
and for your transgressions was your mother put away.
Uh-huh.
Wherefore, when I came, was there no
Uh-huh.
man?
Keep going.
When I called, was there none to answer?
Mm-hmm.
Is my hand shortened at all that I cannot
Keep
redeem?
going.
Or have I no
Keep
power to
going.
deliver? Behold, at my rebuke I dry up the sea. I make the rivers a wilderness. Their fish become foul because there is no water and die for thirst. I clothe the heavens with blackness and
Keep
make
going.
sackcloth their covering. Adonai Yehovah have given me the tongue of them
Uh-huh.
that are taught, that I shall know how to sustain with words him that is weary. He wakeneth morning by morning. He wakeneth mine ear to hear as they that are taught. Adonai Yehovah have opened my ear, and I was not rebellious, neither turned away backward. I gave my back to the smiters, and my cheeks to them that plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from the shame and spitting. For
And
Adonai,
a lot of people bring that to somebody else. Okay.
for Adonai Yehovah will help me. Therefore have I not been confounded. Therefore have I
Keep
set
going.
my face like a flint, and I know that I shall not be ashamed. He is near that justifieth me. Who will contend with me? Let us stand up together. Who is mine adversary? Let him come near to me. Behold, Adonai Yehovah will help me. Who is he that shall contend me? Behold, they all shall wax old as a garment. The moth shall eat them up. Who is among you that feareth Yehovah, that obeyeth the voice of his servant? Though he walketh in darkness and have no light, let him trust in the name of Yehovah and stay upon his God. Verse 11. Behold, all ye that kindle a fire, that gird yourselves with firebrands, be gone in the flame of your fire, and among the brands that ye have kindled. This shall ye have of my hand, ye shall lie down in sorrow. Verse chapter 51, verse 1.
Keep going. Last few verses. 51.
Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek Yehovah. Look unto the rock whence ye were hewn, and to the hole of the pit for whence ye were digged. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bore you. For when he was but one, I called him, and I blessed him and made him many. For Yehovah hath comforted Zion. He hath comforted all her waste places, and hath made her wilderness like Eden, and her desert like the garden of Yehovah. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody. Attend unto me, O my God, and give ear unto me, O my nation, for instruction shall go forth from me, and my right on a sudden for the light of the peoples.
That's the end of that. Now, that's it.
Verse 3, right.
That's the end of that. That's it.
Right. Got you.
Chief. You hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. What I want to bring out is that. Okay. All right. Because it seems like the screen is changing up a little bit. All right. So now, what I want to bring out is this area here, because on the conflict, it talks about the rock and Sarah, who was, took the call, came for the calling. And one of the things that we look at is that when we was going into the captivity, and one of the things about Jeremiah when he was weeping, it was always, it used the thing about that when he was passing through, it said Rachel weeping for his children, and you notice that earlier part of the portion, it talks about a spot in Hebron, in the spot where they got the revelations, and Hebron, and about where the patriarchs are buried, right? Excuse me. Hebron is where the patriarchs are buried. And the cave of Machpelah. And early part of Jeremiah, he was told to go to Hebron. And he said, well, why go to Hebron? And so the thing was, that's where the patriarchs are buried. But when he speaks about the patriarchs, he does look how they survived. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He looks at where they're dead. Their body's dead. We know their body's there, and he knows it's a cave. And Jeremiah was told to go to Hebron, but he's preaching about Raquel and Hebron. And why he's preaching about Raquel and Hebron? Because when Raquel died, when it was a little ways to go to Ephrat, she died in the path that they're actually taking and going to Babylon under the final captivity. So, and you say, well, why did her cries and her tears is assured? And one of the things is that for God to bring them back. The prayers of Sarah was enough to bring them back. The prayers of Isaac was enough to bring the people back. The prayers and tears of Rivkah was enough to bring them back. The tears of Yaakov was enough to bring them back. And the tears of Leah was enough to bring them back. But you read in the book of Jeremiah that even though Raquel had been dead for centuries, as an allegory, you read in the message that her tears alone, her shame alone was enough to move the Creator, because she had one child born there and she's buried along the route that he's going back to a place they had tried to escape from. Because remember, they fled from their father. And she humbled herself and allowed her sister to marry the man that wanted to marry her. So this is the thing. She the one that was definitely children. Joseph. You look at the children of Joseph. How Joseph was outstanding from the rest of the other kids, and how the first king of Israel happened to be, out the tribe of Benjamin. So it was her tears, her sympathy, her cry that was entreated to God to say, look here, don't worry about it. They're going to come back home. But that, though he's in a different location in the city of Hebron at the cave. So I hope you got something out of what I said. I know I went a little bit choppy and kind of fast, trying to push this. So there ain't going to be too many loud things like this, but I try to sum it up as much as I can at this particular point in time. And any mistakes been my own, and I hope everybody have a good Shabbat and enjoy the
Prince, there was one question.
Yes.
Camera Bed wrote, I have a question
Yes,
about
okay.
tzitzit. How should the blue border on the garment be attached? Should it be
Okay.
one of the string of the tzitzit, blue, or a blue border on fringes around all four corners? You
Okay.
understood the question?
Now, I understood the question because you had two types. You had the guys that most of the people I think the IPK and different people, and also they would have fringes all the way around the bottom of their garment, maybe with a quarter blue, and the things also is it tell you clearly when you go to 7th verse, going into about I think the 39th or 40th verse, about how it's placed, on the corners, and it's a cord of blue upon them. And that's part of the prayer they say every day, and that's actually the third paragraph in the Kriyat Shema that we say every day. Those that pray, remind about diseases. So it should be. It's both ways. But the safe way is the extreme way. When you had the borders all the way around in the quarter blue, but you had fringes all the way around the bottom, they take that. But it makes it clear, confot. The word is confot, which means wings, extremities. And you don't need a number if it's all a circular all the way around, var, which is 4. So you're really supposed to have 4 extreme points that should be shown. So that's why most of us went from mainly from the background I'm from, and you might see the like a lot of you know the Jewish guys or whatever. Other people might have a little white thing with the 4 strings. That's specific. That's very. They used to wear borders there, and they also use the term gedolim in the book of Deuteronomy. They don't even mention the quarter blue there, and it focuses on how to actually make the strings. So when you compare the two, you have specific in the book of Numbers, and specific is that it always was on the extreme 4 corners. Now, there's nothing wrong if you want to have the all the way around like some brothers and sisters do, but you must make a distinction on the extremes of the 4 corners where those things are actually extremely long. That's why even when you see the prayer shawls that people have, and they might have the extreme corners, they have them extra long, more precise according to Numbers. So if you take a cord that's tied around the strings of we traditionally they always say white fringe and a blue cord. We might have a black, sometimes I have a black fringes on my garments with a blue cord. Some people, the blue cord always supposed to be there. So I hope I was able to answer that, to your satisfactory. But that's as opposed to going around the border all the way across, all the way around, because it tell you clear wings, edges come forward, and and chaos is also another term for corners.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. I know that he was breaking up a little.
That's the only question there, right?
Yeah, that's the only question. I know that he was breaking up somewhat, but what he said was that in the Tanakh or in the Torah it says konfot, which is an extremity, a wing, an extremity, an extreme extremity.
I think it froze for a second.
Right. So an extremity, which is actually like a wing. So it's an explicit, like how we have the splits, and we put a fringe on each one of them. And he also explained that if it was around the borders of our garments, it wouldn't point out that we should put it on the 4 corners. It specifies 4 corners of the garment. All right. So yeah, those are things that were specific to the actual to what was said in the Tanakh. So if you didn't understand, that's what was said. In a nutshell, he said a lot more, but that's what was said. I don't know what's happening with the connection tonight, but there's always something going on. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Go over to the Uzi Alewi channel. I'm about ready to do my 1 and 2s. This should take you straight over there. It should take you straight to that stream. We thank you
all.
In
the plural. And it's in the plural.
Right. It's in the plural. So, yeah, join us over there. We thank you all. We pray that the Most High God will bless each and every one of you. Those of you that are not going to join you, may you have a good night rest, and may you be refreshed in the morning. Shalom, shalom. May the Most High God bless you.
All right, and one more thing I'd like to bring out.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. I don't know. Prince Zurishaddai, his channel, probably his internet was a little bit out of whack. So, thank you all, and whatever he couldn't cover today, hopefully we'll cover it the next time we speak. May the Most High God bless you all. Stay tuned. It should give you a link for my next stream, which is going to be on the Uzi Alewi channel. Shalom, shalom, family. May the Most High God bless you all.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the